I don't see record. Oh,
Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another BMF Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and tonight I'm joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How's it going, Dana?
it is going great. I guess this is the last one of the season.
Yes, it is the final one, the season finale. So this is not a typical discussion like we've been having. It's been a great season to discuss thus far. But yeah, tonight is the last one until we get to season three, and there's quite a bit to talk about in this finale. So we're going to be giving our thoughts on BMF season two, episode 10, titled "New Beginnings." So let me start off by saying thank everybody for their continued support. Obviously, if you have been checking out the show on this channel, our BMF recaps, we appreciate your support. I also hope that you've had a chance to check out Dana's interview with the cast, and there are more interviews coming that we will get into and mention a little bit later in this discussion. But yes, if you do enjoy these discussions, please do consider leaving comments because we definitely want to know your thoughts on the show as well. Also, if you do like the content, consider liking and subscribing. Obviously, it's entirely up to you, but we do appreciate your continued support as it does keep us going to see people engaging and liking the content. So stay tuned for that. And one final note to mention before we get into BMF, Gary Swaby and I recorded our recap of Snowfall episode 5 earlier today. So if you want to hear our recap, I would encourage you to check out the main Koalition channel page, YouTube page, because it's on there. And also, Dana, Gary, and I have also given our thoughts on the upcoming Power episode that is set to air in a couple of hours on Starz. So I would highly encourage you to check out that discussion, which will be live as well later tonight on the main Koalition channel, because there's a lot to talk about. So, yes, between Power, BMF, Snowfall, there's been a ton of TV shows, and I'm glad we did make some time to cover these shows. But yes, we do appreciate your continued support and comments because we're very curious what you all think about these shows as well. So, with all that said, let's get into BMF because we got to talk about this season finale. So, the first topic that I want to address tonight, I'm going to say that I was inspired by Dana's name here, Lamar's crack pipe, because we have to talk about how Lamar's story ended this season. Now, Lamar has had a lot of issues. Obviously, the last episode we saw him kill Monique, and he had a bit of a breakdown. Um, Still trying to process everything because we know he's had a rough season. He's lost his dog Blackie. He has not been able to see Zoe anymore since they sent her away, and of course he killed Monique. So in this episode, we see that he is still reeling from everything that happened in the previous episode. He does continue to do drugs, and of course, they had this very creative scene where he is basically sitting in a room and he looks across the room and sees himself. Obviously, I feel that was a hallucination, if you will, where he sees himself and basically he is encouraged to basically start smoking the crack pipe. Now, what we do see is that that's actually his cousin Alvin that was encouraging him to do that. And later in this episode, we do find out that because Meech does have to eventually deal with the situation. And oh yeah, I should mention this as well. At the beginning of the episode, we do find out that Lamar and Alvin stashed Monique's body at the car wash. So they knew exactly where Terry and Meech have been cleaning their money, so to speak, holding their operations. So for them to stash it there and set him up, that was a very interesting tactic. But moving forward, like I said, in this episode, Lamar is still dealing with the aftermath of what happened in the previous episode. Meech does know he has to deal with him once and for all. So what he decides to do is to go to his house, and instead of killing him, he again gives him some more crack pipes to smoke. And also Alvin, basically he gives Alvin a bag of them because he wants Lamar to just continue to rely on that so he can eventually get hooked. Now, one comment that I do want to say, uh, I'm not sure who the writer of this episode is, but I just want to say excellent writing when they met when Meech mentions the line about a noose, which is very funny timing because on this season of Snowfall in episode 3, Leon had a dialogue about how he compared being an addict to slavery. So that is very, very crazy timing for both of these things to be mentioned in the span of a few weeks. So shout out to the writers. They're definitely thinking about similar themes there. But overall, this episode ends where we do see that Terry is riding around town and he sees Lamar on the street, now seemingly a crackhead. So, my question to you, Dana, is how do you feel they handled Lamar's story towards the end of this season? Were you surprised by this outcome? And what do you think happens next for the character?
Well, remember, I think all of our predictions were wrong. Remember, we thought we were going to get this big canine Lamar meet and greet shootout situation. That did not happen. This one, I think, was more poetic. I loved what they did because, yes, you can just go off and kill the character, fine, but to have him not die, but die at the same time, and every time that he sees you or you see him, you realize, look what I've done in terms of, that is something. And again, it goes back to the Batman Joker analogy, um, where, Joker, in this case, they need each other kind of to live in that situation. And the fact that Lamar is not dead, but is basically a zombie at this point. He's just alive. He's not living. Um, every time that Meech or Terry or even Alvin at this point sees him, they're always reminded, look what I did in terms of, yeah, it's me who put you in that position. But there's also a sense of sadness to it. With both of the characters, it's like, yeah, you won, but at what cost? With Lamar, he wanted to die. He just wasn't going to kill himself. I don't know if that was a sense of ego or pride that he was still holding on to, but we knew he was not going to kill himself. There was that whole situation with the drugs, and the large amount of drugs that he was doing was kind of Scarfacey at that point. But we had that montage of everything that he lost was basically by his hands. Blackie died. He wasn't able to save Blackie, and Blackie was a representation of himself. Monique died. He can't have his kid. His kid is alive, doing well, but that connection is forever severed, and that is killing him even more. The woman that he loved, despite the complications of their relationship, she's gone. Yes, he killed her, but he wasn't, and I don't want to say he wasn't wrong to kill her, but it was kill or be killed situation. He knew, even in a state of paranoia, that she was trying to kill him. And we've seen that throughout the season. She just never got up to do that. And so he beat her to the punch, literally. But he wanted to die. And I think that when they did that split scene where we had like Lamar that we've known Lamar of, that moisturized Lamar, and then we had this depressed Lamar. That was filmed beautiful. To me, that was an absolute beautiful scene where, yes, it was a hallucination, but that to me was his subconscious saying, him being very present and focused. You've lost everything. You have nothing to live for. Take this pipe, take this crack, and smoke it. And in hopes of it will actually kill you. It wasn't like, oh, take it so you can be addicted. Every drug that he did, it was trying to kill himself. He's doing these large amounts of cocaine. And from my understanding, crack is way more potent. It's much stronger than cocaine, which is why it gets you addicted much faster. So by him doing that, it was take us out of our misery. And then you had the drug Lamar, going in there and saying, yes, I want to die. So it was a meeting of the literal minds at this point. And the fact that the colonoscopy bag, I thought was really interesting as well. Because what does colonoscopy bags hold? Poop. And that at that point is what he literally thought of himself. He thought of himself as complete shit. So I just again loved that. Now, him, when we see him later on in the streets, I tried to zoom in. I wasn't clear on what it was that he was holding. Remember, he was walking down the street holding something, and I wasn't clear on what it was. I wish I have known. But, that again, he said, and it was a reflection of what Meech said. Next time I see you, it's me. Kind of that I forgot the full blown conversation, but it was basically in the sense of, you know, it's me who did this to you. And they see each other. I'm not sure if Lamar even sees him, but he's just wondering. He's just lost at this point. And that to me was just way more profound than even him being, how you see like a stereotypical I'm on drugs and you're like this, like Pookie in the
Mhm.
cage. Remember on Friday and he's like this. Him just wondering and being lost and just waiting to die. That's all he is. Waiting to die, a shell of himself, was way more powerful. And then if you look at the lighting and then the way how they just filmed it was just beautiful. So this was to me completely unexpected. I would have never, ever, I would have laughed at you if you was to say from the beginning from season one, season two, season one, oh, he's gonna get hooked on drugs, on crack and become a crackhead. I would have laughed you right in your face. You're a liar. He's way stronger than that. But if you take everything away from Lamar, what is he? He has nothing and he has nobody. And he gave that speech when he found Blackie. Blackie was that lifeline. I'm going to save him so that I can save myself. Remember when we went back to Lucille and he was going to kill Lucille and she
Mhm.
prayed for him? Let me just pray for you. And remember, I remarked there's a sense of levity to him. He was bouncy. He was still legit crazy, but he was a bit bouncy. He tried to show up for Monique. Remember, he bought her the what was it, the 10K? Well, I think it was more than 10K. It was like 100K or no, it was 30K for the college fund for
Yep.
the daughter. He
And
had
there
the
was a
nice
ring too.
flowers.
Hmm.
There was a ring. He moisturized. He washed. He emptied his like he was looking good and smelling good. His colonoscopy bag was all nice and clean and everything. And even though he couldn't function as a man because he got shot, he still felt like he had a family. It was a
Yep.
wayward family, but he had something to hold on to. And that's something, if you looked at season one, what was Lamar always trying to do? Hold on to his family, just see his
Mhm.
daughter. And you stripped everything away from him, he has nothing. And again, whether it's pride or ego, he just could not kill himself. And it taking those large amounts of cocaine, I believe he was trying to kill himself. And even though you could say Meech forced him to do the crack because he had the gun right there, he did not care. Remember, he said to him, um, when he had the gun in his face, that was, in order to take down the devil, you got to go to hell with them. I'm gonna keep your
Yep.
seat warm for you. He didn't care. Come on now, we both gonna go. And again, that goes to that Joker Batman situation. So I thought it was just masterful. And then if you just want to get petty upon that whole situation, there is a real Lamar. He is alive.
Yep.
Vlad found the real Lamar and they had beef. So if we're being petty, I'm not going to kill you because you're still alive, but I'm going to turn you into a crackhead. Ha ha.
Oh,
So
and from
it
what I
works both ways.
Oh yeah, it does work. And from what I understand, that real Lamar does not like how he is portrayed on the show because they did ask him about that and he was not impressed. So he probably is fine with what the outcome of the character now, since it would imply that we're not going to see Lamar again. But are we going to see Lamar again? That's a question for season 3 in the future, I guess.
I don't want to, here's the thing, and I love Lamar. Here's the thing for me though. I love Lamar. You know I love Lamar. You love Lamar. Everyone loves Lamar. I spoke to all the actors. They love Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar's not necessary. And we're
Yep.
never getting season 1, beginning 2 of Lamar ever again. That Lamar is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So what are
Yep.
we gonna get? A Pookie Lamar of
Well,
that situation?
that's the one thing that I in a way I kind of want the character to be gone and not return because I don't really know if I want to see him looking worse. Like, because the thing is that, and I know because there are people in my family that have been hooked on drugs. I have seen how it makes them look appearance wise. I don't want to see this guy look a lot worse than he looks. And that's why I said if this is how it ends for him, if we don't see him again, I'm fine with that because it may hit a little too close to home when you see him in a worse state, because depending on how
Right.
bad he looks later. So, but we'll see what happens. I just wanted to make a comment and say, I like I told you before we started recording, I definitely didn't see the story going this way for that character this season because he came back. Obviously, he had an objective to get revenge on Meech and Terry. Um, and obviously, we knew he would not be successful because Meech and Terry still have to expand their business. But still, just to see how it ends, it made sense for it to end because, again, as you have pointed out, and then we've had a lot of commenters point out as well, for the story to progress and for BMF to grow, they have to focus on that and not always run into Lamar in these situations. So
Mhm.
I'm fine with how they handled it. I'm just surprised that this was the outcome for the character. So
I'm more interested in Alvin. Like that's a heavy toll. That's a heavy thing to have on your conscience. And remember,
oh
he
yeah,
has to feed him daily. And I've not done crack or any other drug, so I'm not sure how many crack pipes you would need a day.
yeah.
Like, is it
I have
like
no
the
idea.
cigarettes? Like, if you just look at people with cigarette addictions and they're like, I go through 2 packs a day. How much crack do you go through a day?
Mm,
So to constantly have him to be there to feed him the crack just makes me wonder. And then another thing, just because I overthink things, the colonoscopy bag. Obviously, when you're doing your crack, you're not going to be aware of your colonoscopy bag and cleaning it and burping the bag.
yeah.
So my thing is, will he just die of that?
Mm,
It's upkeep and health. So does that kill him and not even the crack?
that's possible. I would say that's very possible. Um, yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out should they decide to explore that character more in the future. But I agree that we don't need to go back to the character, but we'll see what happens. Now I feel like they have a lot of other stuff they have to focus on between Meech and Terry and them doing what they're doing. So, but
Mm.
overall, yeah, it was a good performance by the actor that plays Lamar throughout the entire season. So whatever project he is working on next, we look forward to checking it out for sure.
I want to see him in a nice rom com. Give me something funny and happy.
That'll
You
be
can go like he
interesting.
can go back to killing people, but like give me something nice.
Yeah,
I
that'll be
keep being
interesting.
moisturized.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll see what happens. Um, so any other thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next topic?
No, he's a standout. He was absolutely superb. Like
I agree.
that was like one of it was a breakout moment. I would think that it was similar to an Idris Elba in The Wire in terms of who's that guy? What does he do
Oh yeah,
have next that's going for him? So yeah.
I agree. I agree. I agree. So shout out to him for sure. Um, All right, let's move on to the next topic. This is another big topic. Then we'll go from there. I have to say, I very much enjoy what they did with Detective Bryant and his son's storyline, and everything coming full circle, all because he made the decision to keep that murder weapon. I mean, listen, it made total sense, right? Because Kevin was still having issues with the bully. You saw in this episode, he got beat up again by Marcus. So he decided to retaliate. He found the weapon. And of course, this is the same murder weapon that was used to kill J Mo and Kato. So he used the weapon, shot the bully, and he had to get arrested. So this pretty much killed the entire case for them to try to go after B-Mickie. We did see in this episode that Jen did try to go and get a confession from B-Mickie, and he said the best line about, I would already be in cuffs if you had evidence, so get out of here. Which he was right. He was correct. So, but even prior to that, even early in this episode, we did see that Meech finally approached Detective Bryant, said that he had a witness that identified that he was the last person to see J-Mo. So they got him very good. I mean, it all sets up for him to eventually get payback, as we did see earlier in the season. He did arrest Terry much, much later in time. But I have to
20
say,
years.
20 years. Yep. Yeah. So see, that's a long time. But I have to say, they got him good in this episode, and I like how they had everything come first full circle with that murder weapon, because he shouldn't have still had that murder weapon in his possession. So he had to pay the crime for that. So what were your thoughts on how they handled everything with Detective Bryant and his son, as well as Jen?
This was just a sad finale. Jeez, Louise, that was completely heartbreaking. Um, Again, this is weird because I don't. It's hard when we had the discussion about who's the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's not the villain. He's someone who is technically and legally doing his job, even though he acted illegally with
Yep.
not revealing the evidence and turning the gun over, and he suppressed a lot of things. And it wasn't so much of, I didn't remember the drugs thing that he tried to plant on B-Mickie. Um, this was just, it was work. Because remember, sorry, forgive me. Um, we spent the previous episode like, oh, Detective Brian is dead. Because remember, they was like, oh, we have to kill him. And instead, you can argue that he lost a part of himself. His son clearly could possibly get life 3 times in jail. I'm not sure what the laws are, but being a black boy sure does not help the situation. And they don't have money, so that makes it worse. And the fact that the father did some illegal stuff, that makes it worse. And now he's no longer a cop. He's just a regular civilian. So that's not helping anybody. All you have really is Jen fighting the good cause. If
Yeah.
you really look at it, I think that she's not going to completely abandon him, even though she's called him a trifling ass. She's not gonna abandon the kid. So this just made it extra sad. And the point is not even just that. It was also, remember, I believe it was either the previous episode or the episode before that, where the boy came into the station and he was so convinced that it was Marcus that threw him in the closet, right, and assaulted him. And the fact that because of the Bryant's inability to at least share some of the information with Jen, you can argue whether or not that was protecting her. He kind of dug his own hole in this situation. So in a way, you do feel sorry for him, but in a way you don't. But it's more of my sorrowness is for the kid. Remember how there seems to be every year there's an innocent victim. And
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect, and it was the red. You would say, I don't, maybe I'm not using the right terminology, but it was in our face the entire time, by
Yep.
having this kid there. He looked up to his father so much, but the father was so involved in being obsessed with Terry and Meech. He really
Yep.
wasn't listening to what the son was saying. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm glad you said that because it felt like they had a much deeper connection after his son got locked out, where he actually was listening to him talk about the comics and all this other stuff, and before that he was
Right.
like brushed it to the side. So you're 100% right on that. But no, continue.
Well, he had some of the conversation about the superhero, like earlier,
Mm-hmm.
kind of be like your superheroes. And he kind of brushed on it. But again, if he just focused more on his son and listening to, like, hey, this is the bully that I have, and by just listening and being there for him, and instead of thinking B-Mickie is going to solve it with just a beat down, was going to end everything, that's not how things work. So, and it is sad that the time he finally listens to his son and actually reads the comic. Remember, he kept telling him about Bruiser, but to sit down and actually analyze Bruiser and realize that that's him, he made his dad the superhero. And the whole time he was ignoring him. That was just freaking heartbreaking. That was just beyond sad. And I think that is going to take top priority, getting the son out, as opposed to focusing again on Meech and Terry. So I think maybe, again, I don't know the real case, but storyline wise, that's why it takes the 20 years. And then also, who's to say that that's how long his son stays in prison as well? You know, it's
That's
three
true.
murder charges that he's facing. This is not like that. Remember, he could have gotten off if it was that self defense, but it was the same gun that was used to kill JMO and Kato. So that
Mm-hmm.
does not help his situation. Oh, so he's in doo doo.
I agree.
And I know, to Steve Harris's credit, he played that scene so beautifully by just sitting there and not saying anything. And just, that was just sad. And his son is like, yeah, and his superhero is this. And the son not realizing he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation that he's in, but his father does. So to see like this boy still with spirit, because he's not in the prison system yet. When he gets in there, God bless, we know that's not going to be the same kid coming out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the father knows all that, and you see him with just the weight, and it's just collapsing. The weight of knowing that he's forever lost his son. He's not getting that boy back. Just like we're not getting Lamar back. What was it? Kevin's gone. So that was
Mhm.
just heartbreaking. But again, it was ego that got him in this situation. And again, it was the innocent who had to pay the price.
Yep, absolutely. I agree 100% on everything you said. It was a heartbreaking situation, um, but it made sense because again, he dug his own grave with that murder weapon. The fact that he still had it in his possession, that left things up to chance that something bad could happen, and something bad did happen. So I think from a storytelling standpoint, they had to get Detective Bryant and Lamar out the way so that Terry and Meech can focus on expanding their business. So that's why I said I'm fine with what they did. Because as was mentioned at the end of this episode, there was going to be a new battle brewing for both characters. And we saw that very clear when we saw what happened towards the end of the episode. So they have other enemies to worry about now. So makes sense to get the others out to try to freshen things up. So we'll see what happens from here. But I'll be curious to see what happens with Detective Bryant, Kevin, and Jen next season. Obviously, Jen, like you said, her goal is to try to help Kevin as much as she can. She's doing this to help him. It's not to so much to help Bryant because this was his third strike against her. So that's why I think
Lady Deathstrike.
that's right. There you go. Exactly. So we'll see what happens. But I think they did, like I said, they did a very good job though of bringing the story full circle. So very curious to see what happens next for sure. So
Yeah,
any
it's sad.
very sad. Um, Anything else you want to mention about this topic before we move on to the next topic?
No, just I was really like, I was surprised the cops didn't shoot. Well, again, it helps that they knew the father, because remember
Yeah.
he was surrounded. Was that excessive? That was a wee bit excessive. But again, he's black, so it was, I guess, enough cops.
Oh yeah.
Remember that whole thing was surrounded.
Oh yeah. They wanted to make sure that they were able to apprehend him without any issues. So
And he didn't have a gun on. He didn't have it in his hand, which was like extra.
yeah.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
was just so sad.
Very sad. Very sad. Um, but yeah, very well done. Let's see what happens next season. But let's move on to the next topic. Uh, we have to talk very briefly about Charles and Lucille's storyline as it has come to an end for this particular season. We know that Charles tried to have a family dinner that did not go the way that he planned because Lucille is still very angry and does not forgive him for what happened. And we do see that when he does come to her later in this episode and he says that he talked to a pastor, he's wants to get counseling. She says, "Yes, that's a great idea because I've also talked to a divorce lawyer and I think that the divorce is the only option." Now, I know that we've said on this show in the last couple of weeks, they might be headed for a divorce. They do leave a chance that when they have that little going away party for Meech at the end of the episode, where they're still a little cordial, trying to work together. So I don't know if that means that they're going to be willing to work things out or if it means they are going to go forward with the divorce. So that was my question to you. Where do you think Charles and Lucille go after this season?
No, they split. Um, Here's the thing. What was really funny is I love how he had his come to Jesus moment when it's too late. And she's basically saying she didn't abandon God, but it was like, you go, now to me, it was just ironic that he's like, Pastor, and, pray about. Remember, it was before that he was bringing up the Bible. Remember,
Yep.
he was saying, you know, God forgives, and it's basically to stop holding on to things, which triggered me because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's just extra. That's just grimy. Like you did all of your business and then you're trying to tell people to like just let it be and let it go. I'm trying to find, oh yeah, so basically, yeah, so the conversation was, he found this pastor and he's trying to be all like godly, and remember there was a dinner, and, I'm gonna clean the house and fix dinner for once out of the whole marriage that they've been together. It seemed like I'm gonna take initiative now. Oh, I cheated, so it's time for me to step up. So that one dinner I cooked for you, and that one time that I complimented you on how cute you looked, you should forgive me. And then he had the nerve to be like, God forgives, and throw the Bible in her face, and that just made me extra angry because it was like, where were you this entire time? You wanted to go and show off in front of the entire congregation playing your guitar all up in people's face. Who was it, Sister Riley? So you got her, and then you want to go and hoe around and then kind of like be like, oh, we should forget about it because God forgives. So that made me so angry. But in terms of what they're going through, um, it seemed that once she said, I talked to a pastor. No, it was even during dinner. Remember, she started changing her look up. Remember, she went to like basic family dinner in like
Oh
a
yeah.
cat suit. She was in a leotard number. Like, ma'am, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, remember, she changed her hair and started dressing like one of the teenagers of the 80s when she was at that party. Child. Um, no, she found her sense of freedom. I think that Charles was like a weight that she had bared for all of these years. And there was that sense of resentment. She said to him, "We haven't been happy." She said, "I haven't been happy. And haven't been happy for so long." And when he cheated, I think there was a sense of levity. Like, nobody wants to be cheated on, but it's like, I'm free in a way. And she changed up real quick. Not even just her appearance. She was like, remember, she was talking to Nikki. She finally gave Nikki attention. That was nice. I mean, we had it before with the shopping spree, but Nikki's been going through her own problems with the brothers and then watching the family fall apart. And she's like, I don't ever want kids. I'm never getting married. Y'all suck. Um, so she started being, remember the hair show? Yeah, you can go to the hair show only if I can come. So I think Stella's getting her groove back. I don't see there being a continuation of this in terms of, yes, you can always be together because you have 3 kids with each other, but that's it. I don't see this as a situation where it's like we're going to be that happy, loving family once again. I didn't get my dinner scene, but I got my partial dinner scene. I got my, oh, was this before or after you went and basically slept with Mabel? So I got something. It was snooty. And then he had the audacity to try to regulate her emotions. I told you I'm sorry. And he storms off like a kid. And he's the one who cheated. Don't get me started on Charles. Remember, I was Team Charles in the beginning. I understood if you needed to go have like a one little episode where you go and get your stress relief out with Mabel, but you kept coming back and your house is falling apart, but you're trying to build sheds and walls in other people's homes. So you suck, sir. I want them to be divorced. I hope his new guitar gets broken, and I hope Lucille becomes like the Beyonce of the family. I am sick of this. So yay, Stella, get all of her groove back. Start dressing hip. I want to see her. She has no friends. For the love of God, let her have a social life. Give her some friends, even some male friends. That doesn't mean you got to be sleeping with anybody. Get some good male friends, some good girlfriends. Go to the movies. Do something secular, like listen to Marvin Gaye and be happy for once. Go to school, because remember, they married young, and this was like back in olden times during the, like, I don't know, the 80s, where women, there were certain domestic roles that you played. So she gave up her whole life for Charles and then raising these kids. So go to school, get your education, go find some, love yourself, forget a man, screw a man. Not, well, you can do that too, but on the side. Don't make that something like your main focus. But just go out there and get your life and be happy, and make sure Nikki is okay. My only concern is Nikki, because she's going through things. Remember, Nikki was trying to counsel her, making sure she was okay, and giving her some food and taking care of her. The husband sucks. Even she threw her own father out the house. I hate Charles right now. So boo Charles. I know what ends up happening with Charles, but still, boo you, sir. And yay, Lucille. I'm done. Rant over. Got my whole, and it hurts to talk too. So screw you. I am happy for Lucille. I am so darn happy when you can find no, because you don't understand how much I can't stand Charles trifling. Like I understand if you want to take your husband back and that it may be hard, but the fact that he tried to freaking gaslight her, with the, oh, I have a pastor and I've been praying, and this whole time, remember she tried to pray and let's go to, what was it, camp church or whatever they was trying to go to retreat,
Yeah.
the church retreat. And he was like, no, I'm gonna stay home and go look at my whole Mabel over there. And now all of a sudden, let's go to church. I've been talking to a pastor. I've been reading the Bibles. Screw you, Charles. I hate Charles. I'm done. No, I hope I will. And she here's the thing, and I understand why she didn't. But if she wanted to sleep with Pastor Snoop Dogg, I wouldn't blame her in that one moment.
Well,
Cause
uh, that well, hey, maybe that'll be something that happens in the future. I don't think so, but Pastor Swift will
I,
obviously still be a part of this show, I would imagine, in the future. So we'll see what happens with
I
that
don't
character.
know. Well, the
Uh,
thing I know is that she is someone of faith. So, and leave that raggedy congregation for the love of Black Jesus. That is not the only church in Detroit, ma'am.
yeah.
You have a car. Go drive to another congregation.
Hmm. I
Women can
agree.
be pastors in the 80s and things. So go find a nice lady pastor. Jesus is a
Yeah,
biscuit. I cannot.
I agree. Well, uh, I agree pretty much on everything you said. Obviously, because Terry is still in Detroit, that will give them the reason now to continue telling stories about the family because we know Meech is in Atlanta. So I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing how they expand upon going into season 3. But yeah, I thought I was totally fine with how the season ended for this particular storyline. It made sense that it had to end this way. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, Russell Hornsby, excellent actor, and you've also interviewed, I believe it was Brianna, is who you also
Yes,
interviewed.
yes. It's
Yeah,
Nicole.
Nicole,
No,
yes.
I think it's Michelle. It's Nichelle. Child, Black Jesus, Nicole.
Well,
It
you
was. It was.
interviewed. Well, you actually interviewed both of them recently, so
Yes,
they did an excellent job as the characters. So
yes,
definitely want to give them a shout out.
yes. It's Muck. It's like So I'm dyslexic. Black Jesus. McCole. I'm gonna go with McCole. I apologize for butchering your name. I am dyslexic as all can be, but the middle name is Brianna and the last name is White.
Yeah,
So, Miss
there you
White,
go.
thank you for your excellent services in the finale because it was wonderful. And Stella, get all of your groove back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. So on that note, we can go to the next topic, which is something I've already touched upon, which is pretty much Meech and Terry in this episode. It is mentioned early in the episode that they are expecting, I believe it was 500 keys were coming in. And of course, because of what
Kilos.
happened, yeah, no. And because of what happened earlier in this episode with Monique's body being found, they had to find another stash spot. Now, they did mention in the conversation they had a gas station. And of course, they had the hair salon, which we saw earlier this season that Meech already was looking into. So obviously, we'll probably see more of those two places next season as places that they will try to use to clean their money. Um, but pretty much the gist of this is that Meech does decide that he needs to go to Atlanta because he wants to expand, and Terry's going to stay behind. So they do have a going away party. And of course, the whole time, after they take care of Lamar and Detective Bryant, the next person up to take care of is B-Mickie. And of course, Meech makes the decision to just let him go, let him just walk away from BMF and do his own thing, try to find something else that he can, because he can't trust him. We saw what happened in the previous episode. So I was okay with that. But moving forward to, him going to Atlanta. Say what?
I wasn't okay.
Oh, you wasn't. Oh, all right.
No,
We'll come right back to that. So
I'm not okay.
he lets B-Mickie go. He does go off to Atlanta, and again, because of the previous actions that they have, been involved with in Atlanta, we do know that he does go to see Goldie. Goldie runs into Mark, which is the guy that basically they played the game with and they stole his money. He said, even though they beat him, he says, oh, they stole all my money. I want my 100,000 back, and he wants to get both of them. So when
That wasn't Mike.
I mean Mark. His name is Mark.
Mike. Oh, it's Mark. I thought it was Mike.
It's
My
Mark.
bad.
Yeah, no, his name is Mark. So when Meech does go back, he's visiting Goldie, and then Mark shows up in the club, shooting everybody until Goldie shoots him dead. So that was a rather a very abrupt situation. And the thing is that you know more information about some of the people that she mentioned because you actually had an interview that you've done.
With the
So
showrunner.
so tell us who are some of these individuals that we're going to see, because what we do know is that after Goldie kills him, she goes into hiding, and then you see that Meech basically he goes right back to the strip club, and we do see that some of the same individuals that he had a disagreement with in the previous time when they was in it, when they were there for Freaknik, they're also watching him now. So obviously Meech is going to have some enemies now, but let us know who these individuals are that we can expect to see next season, because you know more information about this now.
Right. So, from my understanding, Mark was connected to the mob, and he was one of their big money people. And so, because he's now dead, they're going to start looking for Goldie. So, to me, that ups the stakes. We got mob now. Before we was dealing with, your little corner boys, and Lamar was just straight up crazy, but he wasn't the mob. He was just crazy. Um, so now we got mobsters. And so because of that, he basically says that when you get to Magic City, remember he walked through Magic City, which yay dancers, much improvement. You have to look for a Rodney Green and not a Robert Fulton, because a Robert Fulton he's the dude that's basically now going to come after everyone. He's the one where they said he will skin you alive. So you need a Mr. Rodney Green. So I'm like, okay, Mr. Rodney Green is going to have protection. What is a Rodney Green? Well, what we do know is this. It has been announced. This is all in the big trades. And also, this also has to do, I'll have a little monologue piece about this too, about the acceptance of these shows in white media. We'll do that a little bit later, because in Variety, you would have never seen, and this has to go back from Power Days of Variety, for example, covering a show like this. Um, yeah. So basically, what we're gonna do is, so Rodney Green is played by Mr. Step Up Dancer, Mr. Neo, which I am interested to see how this plays off, because this is not something that I would expect, but he is going to be kind of the one who is going to provide protection in that sense. Remember, you have to look for this character, and he's going to provide, you make sure that everybody's safe. Now, who exactly is Rodney Green? Rodney Greeny Green, because you can't be green unless you're a Greeny Green, is a local Atlanta player whose main focus is making money. Everybody wants to make money because you got to blow through the money fast, so you got to make the money. And it says, while he oozes swagger and an entrepreneurial spirit, Greeny has more to him that lies beneath the surface. So this should be very interesting. That's literally all it says in regards to Mr. Greeny Green. But Neo, I do know, does the acting with the Step Up series. That's on Starz. So crossover, after he kills you, he dances on you, and sings you a lullaby as you drift off to death. So this should be really interesting. I'm really interested to see Neo play these roles, and I think in a way this could be really good casting. Again, I have not seen the acting. I don't know. We could easily get another City Girl situation. God bless. Let us never live through that again. But from what we have seen, Monique and Donald Rollins, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. They're known for their comedy, right? And what they have given us in this season is that pure dramatic emotion. they've been, amazing in terms of that drama and hitting you with the heart. Like with the Alvin situation, you saw the pain with the whole Lamar thing. Monique, we'll talk about what happened with the sister because I don't want that to go without spoken about. That's the whole AIDS epidemic that they touched. But my thing that I'm trying to say is sometimes when you play against type, or what society thinks is against type, you end up producing your best work. I'm interested to see more of DC Young Fly. You will touch upon that a little bit later. But, we all known him for being a comedic genius. He made Iggy Azalea, not Iggy Azalea, my God, I'm sorry, Azalea Banks cry. So we know him for his comedy, but just I want to see him more of in that dramatic role, and I want to see. Hopefully, he carries over into season 3. But with Neo, I hope he is able to bring this kind of other layer of drama. So I'm looking forward to the character, and seeing what he is. But to me, he kind of comes across as being slick. He's a player, most likely, maybe. He's serious about his money, but he is also you would know that he's involved in Magic City. So that could be a very interesting take. I don't want to see him dancing on the stage with the strippers, but I want to see him take this. I want to see how serious this role is. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll touch upon season 3 because I know more about who's going to probably pop off with this character. But I'm excited for that. And then we also have the addition of 2 Chainz. I thought 2 Chainz was going to be the Robert Fulton. He's not Robert Fulton, or maybe he is because people in this lifestyle they have multiple names. You know, so we do know that 2 Chainz is playing Stax, which he is an Atlanta distributor. Maybe Stax is actually Robert Fulton, and they don't want to fully give that away yet. But that should be interesting. But Robert Fulton, sorry, Stax is like I said, an Atlanta-born distributor, um, whose wisdom and stature commands respect wherever he goes. They said, fiercely loyal and determined to provide for his family, no matter the cost. So we're going to get more into different people's lives and their family. Stack lives by the street code and challenges Meech's leadership style. So that's more confrontation right there. So we're already getting up into something. We want to be starting something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And since we're on Atlanta, you said you wanted to touch upon Monique's sister, who unfortunately passed in this episode.
That was
Um,
the saddest thing ever.
yeah, I think it was important for them to highlight that because I know we've seen a lot of controversial sex scenes this season. So I think they needed to highlight and show the other side of this stuff. How someone could contract the virus, whether it's through having unprotected sex or needles or whatever. They had to show the negative side of this stuff because that, like I said, that like you
Well,
said, that
not
was
even that. Remember, the cheating also happened. People got it from their husbands. This wasn't
yep,
like because you're living dirty. Remember, babies were being, this was the height. The fact that she said that it was AIDS, remember, so we've established that, this is, it's still the height of the epidemic. But the
yeah,
fact that they labeled it as AIDS, HIV, remember, it was originally thought it was a cancer that only gay people contracted. So
yep,
we're a little bit past that. We've gotten a name, but it still could be like, oh, we think it mainly affected gay men. And there's a huge thing about that. But point that I'm simply saying is this: I really like the fact that they touched upon this. It's to show, people were getting it from all sides in terms of people of color, because this is a show that portrays people of color. So I'm going to focus on that. Doesn't mean that other people wasn't affected, but we're going to just focus on that for a little bit. Um, Minorities, Black people were getting it from all sides in terms of the crack epidemic was popping off. The AIDS epidemic was also being a hot mess. Communities were being decimated by this. And it was really important for them to show, I felt, that even with the money and the connections that you had, people were still dying. And I love the fact that she took care of her sister. You saw this meanness shooting, and going out and shooting the men and being this strong black woman. But at the same time, she couldn't save her sister. Her sister is literally begging, "You have to let me go." So this made me wonder. Obviously, she didn't, because this was back when they have, from my understanding, again, I don't know the time periods, but this was before they had the AIDS cocktail, the AIDS drug cocktail out. And even then, remember, that first batch was killing people because it was too strong. Um, so to show that she put her money and her resources, it was not cheap. You saw her hooked up to machines. She took care of her sister. I'm going to assume she also had somebody else because she can't literally be there 24/7 to take care of her. So even with that exterior of being hard and tough and she was also a caretaker. And I really liked that they showed that. But it was also heartbreaking to show that, you know, she could not save her sister, and her sister was in so much pain. She was just hanging on by a machine. "Let me go. You have to let me go." And it really brought dimension to the character, because this was something that we only saw briefly. Was, remember when the sister was fell out of the bed and she got really sick, and Goldie rushed in and slammed the door. So there's a softness to her, that I hope that they continue to explore in season 3. She is an educator. She is a caretaker. She's also someone you don't cross, because she will pull out her little gun and shoot you. But I really liked that, and I really liked that they're showing the timeline of what was really going off in the black community with the AIDS epidemic, and then you have with Lamar with the crack epidemic. So yeah, it was heartbreaking, and I think she played that scene so well. That was a well crafted scene, and I spoke to the showrunner about that scene, and she said they designed it, so that it would be like an Emmy nominated scene, and you could see all the heart and emotion that Monique delivered, and not to touch upon the controversy, but at the root of Monique, people forget. Strip away everything else. That woman is brilliant. She is very talented. And to see that she has these ability where she can play all these different layers in just one episode, brilliant. I loved it. So I'm happy they included that scene. And not even just that, the fact that this also goes to show, I feel, the connection that Meech has with Goldie. You can say, "Oh, it's just for the money," but remember, Meech had to guide her hand. Remember, she pressed the button, but Meech had to guide it. In terms of like, remember he said, "I'm here for you. You have me." So that solidifies their bond. I wonder if, you know, while Terry is in Atlanta, is Goldie kind of like the new Terry in terms of that bond and that connection that they have to form, because they're both now on the run. They both can die from her actions. Well, basically, you could say both actions, but more of Goldie's actions, because she's the one who killed him. She could have easily given up Terry and Meech when he said, "Give me the names," and she says, I don't do that." So they're tied. They're in this together, and it was like, "You protected me. I'm here to protect you. I'm here for that. I'm here for you to lean on me." And that whole sister situation was just beautiful. I loved it. So yay.
I agree. I agree. So I mean, I look forward to seeing what's in store for Meech in Atlanta in season 3. Going back to Terry, who's in Detroit. Um, yeah, you mentioned earlier uh, that he did get approached by, you said DC Fly Money. He's playing that character. I believe the
DC
character's
Young
name,
Fly.
DC Young Fly. See, I'm sorry, I missed the name, but I'm very familiar with who this guy is. He's very funny,
I interviewed
right?
him for a house
Yeah,
party, and I
yeah,
was
he's
really
very funny.
scared because he was a comedian, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna like roast me. I was legit scared. Like like I turned into like a grandma. I was like, please don't. And he is like, he's the nicest young man you will ever meet. He was so nice.
well,
So
well,
yay.
he wasn't very nice in this episode because we saw that he basically warns Terry to stay away from Markeisha. And then later at the end of the episode, as Terry and Markeisha are driving down the street, Terry feels great that now he can just focus on his business. He ain't got to worry about Lamar. He ain't got to worry about B-Mickie, and he doesn't have to worry about Detective Bryant. But now he got to worry
He had
about
his
Boom.
bubble.
Yeah, yeah. But now he got to worry about Boom and Boom's people because this guy is working for Boom. So he stops them and just takes out a gun and just starts shooting. Now, obviously, this cliffhanger will have a lot of people thinking we already know that Terry will survive because you saw him in 20 years later. But will something happen to Markeisha? Who knows? Who knows?
I'm cool.
Uh, so, what can you tell us about your thoughts on this, and what do you think will happen in season 3 in regards to Terry? Obviously, he has to deal with this situation, but do you think that Markeisha survived this attack at the end of the episode?
We had this discussion previously. This was similar to Tommy and Gloria, the soup lady, the stew
Yeah.
in Power Force. Um, this now Boom. I thought Boom was dead, so that's why I was slightly. He's not dead.
No, 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 no. He's not. He's the one that snitched
He
on.
was arrested.
Yeah, he's the one that snitched on them last week.
Okay, that was not because Canine wouldn't give them up. Boom
Hmm
is not dead. Boom was
and I
no. This is why I was confused because remember Markeisha, who's not named Lakeisha, but Markeisha. Remember she called Terry, and she was like, "Oh, there were men that came in here looking for Terry. I mean, looking
yep,
for Boom
yep, money. They wanted money.
for
He
money.
didn't pay them.
Didn't they kill him?
No, I don't think they killed him. They were looking for him. Obviously, the whole situation is that no, because later in that episode you had the scene where where when Terry was at that party, then that's when the guy showed up and say, "Stay away from Boom's, stay away from Markeisha." Okay, so I believe Boom
Okay,
is still alive. The thing
I
that
have to
I was
close. So
going to
I
say is I believe it
yeah.
was the prior episode is when Detective Bryant and Jen they had the photographs from when Terry was messing around with Markeisha that they took. They showed
Right.
that to Boom, and then that was when he spilled the beans on them. So I still
Okay.
think we're going to get a Boom and Terry altercation next season. Rather surprised it didn't happen yet, but it's going to happen next season because again, Terry has these enemies he needs to deal with. So that's what I think. But
Okay.
continue.
Sorry, I'm half dying, so that got foggy. Um, but what was the question?
Oh no, the question is, do you think that Markeisha survived this attack at the end
Oh,
of the episode?
just we don't need Markeisha. Okay, so here's the thing. Um, I feel we don't need Markeisha. I understand that when he was really when he was in the car and he was that's what I knew when things happened. Never be happy, especially in the car, driving down the highway or the street alone at night. That's what happened to Gloria and Tommy. Remember they was gonna leave? Remember that whole thing? Anyway, here's the point
No,
that I'm making.
you're talking
She
about Vic.
yeah,
You're talking about Vic.
that was
Yeah,
that was
Vic. Yeah, Vic and Gloria, and that happened during the daytime because Tommy
yep,
was the one that
yep.
warned them and told them that they need to leave as soon as possible.
He
And this
took the
guy wait till
car.
the morning. Yep. Hmm
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. I'm getting everything all confused and
Oh
muddled.
no, you know you're
So
good.
here's a Here's the thing with Markeisha, who's not named Lakeisha, which I have been mispronouncing. But Markeisha, I'm cool with her dying. She taught, of course, she can continue to teach Terry new things, but I felt that I just don't like I don't like Markeisha, so I'm okay with her being dead. I thought that she was, yes, she was changing him into her image, and yes, you can argue that she was also giving him very good advice that was very helpful for the business. You know, he taught her almost everything. She was a very good mentor, um, in that sense. I just think that she was trying to change him to be a reflection of her and to, replace Boom. And I just didn't like the fact that she knew what she was doing. She was grown. This boy was still, remember, just a couple episodes, he dropped out of high school. He is a teenager. Teen,
Yep.
teen. And men don't reach maturity until they are in their 20s. And he is in his teens. So, boo, Markeisha. So I'm okay with her dying in that sense. The way how, unless DC has some real awful aim and nobody dies, I I I don't see how she doesn't. And here's the thing, why I want her to die also. I feel that once Boom finds out what's going on, and whether or not he finds out that it's DC Young Fly that killed her, or just the fact that she was in his car, this makes him even angrier and a huger altercation. So he's going to come back with probably even more force. And we need more drama. We up the stakes. We're in a new territory now. We're
Yep.
meeting more dangerous people in Atlanta who's not going to just roll over and allow you to create your own business there. So I'm happy with that situation. So
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I agree on a lot of points that you made. I don't know if the character is dead, but what I would question as a viewer is I would like to know the motivation behind that attack, because earlier in the episode was when he told Terry to stay away from her, right? So why would you then attack knowing you see her in the car too, and with the thought that you could potentially kill her as well? That's why I want to know what his motivation is behind that, and that's why I'm curious to see what the character has to say next season. Go ahead.
it could be a hit.
Yeah. Well,
He
maybe,
could
yeah, it could
Boom
be.
could have put out a hit. I mean, he found the photos.
Yep.
Well, I'm tired of this hoe and the kids. We were the kids. I'm happy the kids weren't in the car. I mean, we can get real grimy and put the kids in the car, and they did too. But um, it was a hit. You can argue that it was a hit. And now, once Terry, I'm sorry, patches up his bullet holes and hopefully doesn't have a colonoscopy bag, wouldn't that be the irony of he gets a colonoscopy bag too? Child, shade. But here's the thing. I would prefer that it would be a hit because at that point, Boom was completely fed up with the whole situation. I don't think that DC Young Fly's character would act independently. Again, I'm talking as if I know this character and he's only had like one scene. Um, so it's either he's acting independently or it was a hit, or he's just that really stupid to just put that big old gun out and with an open car. I mean, that was just reckless. That was dumb.
Yeah. That's why I say they will have to explain that next season. But I am curious. Again, he's very funny, so I like to see him play a different role, and I'm very curious to see what he does with this opportunity. But overall, I'm very. I will say this: I did see enough from this season to be intrigued to see what happens next. Obviously, I do want to see what the other storylines are that they pursue. So we'll see where everything goes from there. But on that note, those were the only questions I had. So now I want to give you the floor because, as you said, you did interview the showrunner. So you may know of some other things about season three, and you also may have some other things you want to mention about this episode. So I give the floor to you right now.
So, yay, floor, shiny floors. Um, What I know, I interviewed the showrunner. Very lovely. I love the entire cast and all the people who run this show. No, this first of all, shout out to all of them because they have been so nice and accommodating, and I just love talking to them. So yay them, and your show is actually good. So there's nothing worse than trying to interview for a terrible show, but your show is good. So it made me think. I was googling crack. You ever had to Google crack to understand the purpose of crack and how does it get you addicted? I was having conversations with my mama about crack. This was crazy. Anyway, so let's talk about season three. Season three is going to be all about reinvention. This was, all clearly this episode was about loss. This was a lot of loss that happened with this, the characters of B-Mickie and Terry and Lamar. Rest in peace, because you're not dead, but you did. Um, Alvin, everything that was a lot of loss. That whole thing with the Bryant. Jeez, my God, that was sad. But the next season is going to be about reinvention. I couldn't get an answer so much of hope and happiness because I really wanted to know, is this hope and happiness? So I think there will be hope and happiness, but it's not long standing, obviously. Uh, there are fleeting moments. But in terms of Charles and Lucille, I know this. They are going to separate. And we're going to have Lucille get more of her groove back in terms of her finding her own identity and who she is as a person. We're going to have Charles. Remember when the Tank Terry gifted the guitar to his dad at the grill? He's going to get back into music. And it's not music for the Jesus, it's probably music for the secular. So he's going to find his literal groove as well. So I don't know this. I don't know if this is a situation where he tries to win over Lucille, but if this is something that he's always wanted to do but couldn't do because you have to admit, and we've known from the beginning, Lucille has been very judgmental. You know what happened with the porno magazines, even though technically she was right because I spoke to the actress and she said the moment that the character saw those magazines, she knew that something was wrong. That's when she got an inkling that Charles is not Charlesing the way that he used to Charles. So screw you, Charles. Um, with so we're gonna have him literally find his groove and be more into his music and with himself. Lucille, she's going to find out who she is as well. The character who of Lawanda, played by Sydney Mitchell, she talked about, you know, she's kind of separating herself from Terry and really finding out who that character is, um, and really being her own person. So this is all about reinvention. We do have the fact that Terry and Meech have separated because I was like, the last time they separated, it didn't go very well for them. They had to come back again, but this is going to be a long-standing separation, and so they're going to see how they operate much differently. They're not the same person, so they will be operating their own territories much differently from each other. So we have that dynamic. And also, it questions who are they as a person when they're not with each other? Who is the individual? So we're going to be finding a lot of that individuality within the brothers and also within the family and within other characters. Now, I was not given an answer to B-Mickie. I don't know what's happening with that character. The actor Steve Harris, who plays Detective Bryant, was very mum. He said he doesn't know what's happening on season three, which I am going to assume is a whole lie because he was on set of season three. You got outed. So, boo to that. But I spoke to the showrunner who gave me such lovely information. So, he is no longer a cop. We saw that his badge was taken away. We saw this in the episode. Remember, they stripped him. So now he has to find his identity as who is he as a person and who is he as a father, trying to get his son back, which again makes me wonder, as you just being a regular civilian and you've screwed up so many times within the department by doing things illegally, it's going to be much harder than following things by the book and being a regular civilian. So this again, his main focus is going to be on getting his son out, which is why I believe, storyline wise, because I don't know what happens in real life to understand the whole 20-year time period, but this is why I think it takes so long to finally get the Flannery boys. Um, and plus, for me, story and dramatic wise, I'm really interested in seeing coming home with him. One thing that I feel is for sure, Jen is not coming home with him. That whole situation is kaput. It is gone. But we are going to follow. I really want to know who she is with her family. Remember, they talked about her and her family. I want to see her in that situation. This is just what I want. No one told me any information in regards to Jen, but we're gonna find out how Jen is operating kind of on her own. I don't know whether or not she gets a new partner. That I was not given any information on at all. So now that we're in Magic City, so yay, we got real strippers. Woo! Because down in the valley, we got that. Um, I just wanted my P Valley crossover, but then I realized that they're not in the same state. The Delta is not Atlanta. So I'm sad about that. But we're getting strippers, yay, who can actually strip. So we know with Goldie and that situation, they're basically Jay-Z and Beyonce on the Run Tour Part 2. So that's going to be happening right there. So I'm very happy in regards to that. Um, so again, this whole thing is just about reinvention. One of the things that I want to know is Nikki. Y'all knew Nikki has my heart because, to me, it's kind of felt like this character was not given the attention that she needed. And every time that she came to them asking real questions, they treated her like a child. And mentally, she's not a child. There are certain things that you can tell her and talk to her about. So my hope, my dream for Nikki is that she has a closer bond with her mother. Um, and not to say that she wasn't close before, but there were certain things that, her mother wouldn't allow her to do. So I want to see them hang out more. I want to see them, have more of that mother daughter relationship bond. Charles is still a piece of dog poop. So boo with him. He can go with his guitar and hold with that. Um, but he's getting his reinvention too. So it's just more like, who are these people as individuals? So I look forward to that. Um, so that is basically what I know for season 3, which is not a lot, but it's something. And then we also have Neo, and we have who's the other actor, the Two Chains, and other people will be joining the cast. And of course, that means that there are going to be new obstacles and new trials and tribulations for them as well. And then also, you got to patch up Terry because he got holes in him somewhere. So that's what I know.
It sounds good. It's definitely a lot of intriguing things to look forward to. Um, so gotta stay tuned. So maybe 2024 next year. That's when we'll possibly get season 3. Um, yeah,
Probably. I mean, they're filming now. When did this come out? I don't know
January.
what month it is now. This came out in January.
Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe we'll get that in January if
cool.
everything goes according to plan. So yeah, that should be really interesting. I don't know. There's a lot of things we thought was going to go into plan, but then that just kind of put a kaputs in everything. So yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So on that note, was there anything else you wanted to mention about this episode before we get ready to wrap up?
One of the things that really stuck out, I love the theme song. There was no song. They made their own song with all of the clips of the different voices from season 2. I love that. I thought that was so innovative and creative. More shows should do stuff like that. So to me, that was just so good. They could have easily had another song by someone, but instead they made it about them.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, that is so incredibly smart. I like that. But overall, this was just a superb season. Stop using God, his name, in vain all the time when you upset and trying to get your wife back because it ain't working for you. Um, I just don't like Charles. Charles is grimy. I'm sorry. But overall, this was just really good. Um, Everything was just really good situations. And I'm so sorry for that little boy. That was just sad. And then there was like the fact that they added the charges, and I'm like screaming, "You can't be that stupid!" But it was the gun. It was the gun that they tied to the murders, and I'm like, he's literally legit that stupid. And rest in peace to Lamar. I'm gonna really miss Lamar. I don't think we'll see him unless he's like wandering the corner. Oh my god. Oh, maybe he turned into Bubbles. Remember Bubbles from The
Yep.
Wire?
Yeah. I do remember
Ah,
Bubbles.
that was such a good character. But no, I don't want Lamar anymore. I'm so sorry. I mean, I love Lamar, but there's nothing else you can do for that. So sad. But I appreciate everything that they did for season 2. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I agree. It's a very good season. I know when we initially started talking about the show, we were only going to do one review, and we ended up pretty much doing a discussion for almost every episode, starting with episode
I think
three.
we did every episode. We did
No,
all,
I think I
yeah.
think I think, I think we skipped episode two, um, but
Okay.
three onward we were consistent. So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the time covering the show, and I do see that there are some people that have been watching. They've been supporting the show, so I would definitely encourage you, if you did enjoy this BMF Discussions podcast, let us know in the comment section if you're interested in seeing us cover season 3 when it comes out next year, for sure. But yeah, on that note, definitely thank you for checking out the show. This does conclude our review of the season finale, New Beginnings. Dana, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Shout out to everyone who listened to us. What has this been? 10 weeks?
I
Yeah.
want to say about,
So
yeah, between 7 and 10 weeks. Yeah.
10 between 7 and 10 weeks. I can't math. The math ain't mathing, but I'm gonna say thank you anyway. Thank you for watching us and listening to us and the interviews and everything else. So it's been really fun. I
Yeah,
liked it,
I agree.
and
I
then we'll
agree.
have more stuff too. Mm.
Oh no, I agree. Yes, I agree 100%. And I definitely also want to thank you all for listening, commenting, liking the video, and then of course the people that subscribed. Uh, as Dana mentioned, there will be a couple more BMF interviews coming. But yeah, we definitely enjoy covering season 2. We definitely will cover season
Mm.
3. But yeah, continue to check out the content. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a review of Snowfall, the latest episode of Snowfall, on the main Koalition channel right now. And we are going to be having our review of Power starting. Well, by the time this video is out, our review of Power will be up. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out also. But of course, check this out first because, we know a lot of people love BMF. So, but on that note, thank you all for your continued support. We hope that you have a great weekend. We will talk to you all next time.